Hello and welcome to tonight's show. We have so much in store for you, such a treat in store for you tonight. We have a bunch of guests that I get the pleasure of introducing to you, and all the guests are connected to this project. Just Let Go. It has been in the Guild for not very long, so you need to check it out if you haven't. If you want to watch the movie, it is angel.com/justletgo. Go there, check it out, sign up for the Guild, and you can watch it there. I think it behooves me to introduce the person right next to me. We have Chris Williams as our first guest. He is actually the subject of the film. It's a true story. So, and this is the person behind it. Thank you so much for being with.
Oh, it's an honor. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. And I also get the pleasure of introducing two virtual guests. We have Henry Ian Cusick and Sam Sorbo, both actors and an actor and actress in the film. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So I'd love to chat about this film's creation process, just to sort of dive into it. So what was it like? I'll start with you. Start with you, Chris. What was it like? A lot of people who go through sort of an experience like this, a big life-altering event, some people write books about it. Some people go on speaking tours and stuff like that. And you decided to dive into a film project. So how did this whole journey start for you?
Sure. Well, it did start with a book that I had written. It was a memoir of sorts of what had happened in 2007 to my family. So very briefly, our family was hit by a teenage drunk driver, and killed in that was my wife, who was expecting, and then two of my four children. And so based on some journals that I had started to keep after that incident, and also recognizing that so many people were wondering how I was able to do what I did, and that's kind of the biggest part of this story, is that I forgave whoever had hit us while I sat in the car right after being hit. But they wanted to know how they could forgive as well, how they could move past the injuries and harms and hurts of their lives. And so I wrote a book based on the journaling I had done, and then realizing that a movie could hit a larger audience, we went forward with this project to produce this movie.
So what did that look like? Did you have some producing friends, or were you just like, here's my story, I would love for someone to produce it, or how did that work?
Sure. The book was published by Shadow Mountain Publishing, and then it was some filmmakers that put this together that worked with Shadow Mountain to then take the book and adapt it to a movie.
Very cool, very cool. And of course, when the film creation starts, the casting process and the whole, it's quite difficult to get a written story filmed in all that stuff. There's a lot of different wheels turning and stuff like that. So when it came to the casting process or the creative process in general, did you have much weight when it came into that, the creation?
No. So Christopher Clark and Patrick Parker were the co-producers, directors, etc. for this whole project, and so they really took and negotiated with the publishing company for the right to make the movie. But then they got the script written, and then they got the cast done as well. So didn't have much say or point in that.
You probably never thought that you'd be played by an actor in a film, but if you had, did you ever picture Ian Cusick as the person who would portray you?
Well, interesting enough, he was a perfect individual to do this.
Yeah.
Lost, which he was a star in, was playing about the same time that this movie was kind of being written and created. And he played a character in there, Desmond, that had through flashbacks and et cetera, the way that they played it in that movie or in the series, he was separated from his spouse in that. And so there was a lot of relatability to what he was portraying in Lost to, how I felt with being separated from my spouse. And so absolutely kind of very much, when he was announced as the choice, I just couldn't have been more thrilled.
Yeah, perfect. That's awesome. That's really cool. And
can I jump in for a second?
Please.
I have a question for Chris. I can't remember if we talked about this before, but was there a list of people they presented? What about him? What about? And you said yes, yes, no, yes, yes. Did you have nothing? Nothing.
Nothing at all. They just they. Well, there's one other interesting tie here is that
dangerous question.
Ian did a movie called The Dress, which I mean, it's absolutely just spot on of this, situation I went through of losing a spouse, and it was just a phenomenal production that Ian had written, and also just the way that he had to relate to a son that was, struggling with the death of a mother, and watching the father kind of go through that motions as well. I mean, that has been my life since the death of my spouse, and so it's been interesting the different ties here, that have brought him to this project, and I think made him interested in doing this project. But no, when they announced the cast, it was basically they just kind of premiered it and said, "Hey, here's the cast," and I thought, fantastic.
It's going to be this guy.
Yeah.
What you bring up Dress, which was spookily close to your story, and I had nothing. It was like something in the ether was like guiding me towards this moment and having to deal with my own son, who was the second AD. His first job was on this film as a PA. But there were all these like spooky little connections that guided me to come to do this film.
And Sam, what was your first connection to this project? Were you just approached by your agent, or how did that come about?
It's actually kind of a weird story. Also, is I heard about the accident when it happened, and I followed Chris, not in a stalker kind of way, but I followed the story for quite a while. Chris appeared with Glenn Beck and on other TV programs, and did the tour with the young man. And so I had followed the story for a while, and it was a story that was very meaningful to me, because the idea of forgiveness is something that I've written about and I've researched, and so it just really appealed to me. And then years later, lo and behold, the script finds its way to my desk because I worked with a makeup artist who knew the producer, and Dan LaPrey. And so Dan sent me the script and said, "Hey, would you consider being in this movie?" Because he needed to find actors, and he needed to find people who would be sympathetic to the story, and he probably needed people to work for very cheap because they didn't have a big budget, and so he sent me the script, and I was just bowled over by the idea that they were trying to make this into a movie. And we had some back and forths, and I got a chance to talk to the directors, the writers, before taking the part, and sort of trying to figure out if they were actually going to make the movie that I thought should be made. And when they offered me the part, I decided to take the chance, because frankly, the movie has 3 different iterations. The first is the script, which could come from a book or just from somebody's, brainchild or whatever. But then the second iteration is the thing that's shot. But then there's a third iteration in what is actually turned into the movie. And a lot can change over the course of that. It's actually just an absolute miracle that movies get made, and that good movies actually come out of them. And so I'll just shorten it and say that I was just absolutely thrilled to be part of this movie. It's really the first movie that I've done that I'm actually really proud of, where I'm just thrilled. And I had stepped away from acting twice, actually, at that point. So to be able to participate in this very meaningful film that tells this story in such a compelling way. And there's actually a twist at the end that I'm not going to give away, but it's so extraordinarily compelling and convicting in all the good ways. And it's also a tearjerker, like bring a box of tissues. And Ian does just a phenomenal job playing that part. And Brenda Vaccaro just adds so much depth to it. It's really just,
as do you.
I'm very, very proud of this. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's something. When I first watched the film, I was taken aback by how powerful it was and how it was done in such a way, because a lot of films, there's a story arc towards like something really bad happens and then it's a recovery and all this other sort of stuff. But like from the beginning of the film, you're like in this space of pain and in the space of trying to deal with this big scenario that had happened in your life. And of course, as an artist, Ian, what was it like cracking open the script and being like, wow, from page 1 to page, like however long the script was, this is a heavy emotional story from beginning to end. That must take a toll on sort of like a acting standpoint of can you be in that space for that long?
It absolutely does. I just want to reiterate what Sam said. It's something that I'm very proud of, and I owe that to not just Chris Williams, but also to our directors, Chris and Patrick. They were just delightful. They charmed me. As Sam said, this was a super low budget, and so. But I met them. They were very charming. I said, I want to see some other stuff you've done, and was very impressed with the way they shot, how they worked together as a team, and quickly I got to the point was. Yeah, you're absolutely right. This was a difficult place to live. I only lived in it for a very short amount of time, so it was very concentrated. Chris Williams lived in it for a long time. I was just visiting, and I stepped in his shoes and it really hit me quite hard. I wouldn't say I'm a method actor, but it did affect me, and I could see that as Chris and Patrick will testify, they can see that I changed. I think when I certainly blew up at points, which is not like me. But through their guidance, I feel, and we had such a great cast, Sam, Brenda, the kids were phenomenal, that it just, and what a great team to be working with. Everyone was so positive. The weird thing is I was in a headspace and I was surrounded by a bunch of positivity and people doing really good work and really excited, and there was me being monosyllabic. And they were going, "What's wrong with him?"
No.
There was a lot going on in my head, but I remember there was points where people were trying to engage in conversation, and I was like, I have nothing to say, because I was in it. So, but I had to be at that space, so.
But I think everybody on set recognized that it was, we were all taking part in something and trying to help you portray the anguish that this individual went through. And of course, you and I were at odds in the movie, so that actually bled out into reality too, just because that's just the way that it works. And I mean, it was fine. We didn't, get to loggerheads, but there was a little bit of that too, and that's just normal on a set. And and it comes out in the movie.
It was always very respectful and polite. Yeah, I thought interactions, you felt it underneath the underlying tension about what you wanted me to do and what I was thinking about what I should do and my character should. And but I always thought because I knew that you at times tried to engage in conversation, and I was just not. Now we can joke and laugh, but then I was like,
it's fun.
Yeah, it was interesting though, and I was like that with so many people on set. So it was definitely something that I learned a lot as an actor. And again, I was, because I was on screen a lot, I was allowed to do that, do very little. So it was a real experiment in that sense of acting, and I'm ever so grateful for the opportunity, and I'm grateful to Chris and Patrick in particular, who saw that I could do this role and allowed me to do it.
Yeah, and something that you said that I thought was very, very powerful is, of course, you only lived in this space for a certain amount of time, where Chris, of course, you lived this whole thing. And I'm curious, some people, like a healing process might just be to live with it and just kind of walk around with it and, of course, share the story with your inner circle. But what caused you to want to share your story and this story with a wider audience, with this film and with your book and everything else? What caused you to want to share?
I think it was just a realization that what happened that night on 2007 was an absolute tragedy. A very painful tragedy for me and my family and those that were engaged and involved with it. I didn't want there to be more tragedy. I just wanted that to be it, and wanted good to come out of this in any way possible. I mean, as a Christian, that's kind of the Christian message, is that there's goodness that can come out of pain and sorrow, and that there's a Savior that, kind of ultimately paid that price so that others wouldn't have to go through that. And not that I would compare myself at any level to that, but it was, a similar type of approach to this, that I wanted goodness to come out of it. So that's why, if there was a book that I could share what I went through that would help others, I wanted to do that and share it. If there's a graphic, film depiction of what I went through that somebody could watch and have that impact their life positively, then I wanted to do it. I was all in, and so that was a definite motivation for me, just to make sure that there's more good coming out of everything.
What was it like when the film was complete and you were able to see your life on screen like this? What did that feel like?
Well, it's absolutely surreal.
Yeah.
But also, very hopeful that that people would watch this, because I was very moved. And it was surreal in that it's, I knew I had experienced this and this was my life, but I was also watching this and trying to watch it as one who maybe wasn't as attached or as familiar with what I had gone through. And I don't know that I was able to perfectly do that, but just being moved in that sense by what I was viewing was just very powerful. So, high hopes for everything that had been done, and just thrilled that, that the movie lives on, and we're here talking about it today with Sam and Ian.
At 10 years later, that's pretty wild. That's something that I absolutely love about the Angel Guild is people are putting in works of art, these powerful, powerful stories. And if the Guild watches it and is like, this amplifies light, like your story does so well, it kind of like revitalizes this film to where a whole new audience can see it now. 1 million members strong can go watch this film now after 10 years, which is really, really cool. You can see right there on the screen, angels.com/justletgo. Sign up for the Guild, check it out. You're not going to regret it. Although it is a story of forgiveness and pain and everything else like that, it is, boy, is it hopeful as well. It leaves you with a feeling of hope. And that's something I really, really loved about it.
We should be doing projects like these. We should be entertaining people with uplifting and inspiring messages. And we've gotten away from that, I feel, a lot. And we're living in a culture of unforgiveness, where we're so quick to condemn people and write them off, and we shouldn't be. And so what Chris did, just in his personal life first, was absolutely outrageous. And that's why the news picked it up, because he told people, I forgave that young man that night when he took half my family, more than half my family away from me. Right. And so for him to do, and that's why I glommed onto the story immediately, because that was it, that's unbelievable and yet true. Right. And so when we have that example, we ought to be putting that example out there for other people to see, because when you live in a state of anger or resentment, it's not good for you. And so, once we realize that, we have to seek forgiveness, we have to seek to forgive people. And so that's part of the message behind this movie, that is, and it's just a depiction, right? It's not a lecture, it's just a depiction, but it's a depiction of a true story. And the fact that it's a true story, you can see yourself there. You can say, oh, maybe I can actually work on forgiving this person who's causing, hurt to me or whatever. And that's what we want. I think that's what Chris wants. That's what I wanted from the film. And that's what the creators wanted, is to have light shine into the darkness like this.
Oh, I love that. And that's something I very much was feeling when I finished the film as well. Although there's a lot of things about your story that I can't relate to, losing a loved one in that way and stuff like that. But I ended the film thinking of an individual in my life that I should be forgiving and that I should be working towards that forgiveness. And is that something that you really hope that people take away after seeing your story on screen?
Definitely. I think, as I explain forgiveness now, I think it's one of the most gloriously selfish things that you can do. And one of the gloriously selfish decisions you can make, because when you do that, you come back to a point of having control over everything you can control. That's really what's happens here. And so it's an opportunity, when you forgive, to kind of stand back and see things as they really are, see your life as it really is. And that's, I think, the clearest and best way to move forward is with a understanding of what you can control and what the truth is, and those things you can't control, you can just kind of put them in a box or put them to the side, or just don't focus on them. Whereas those that get stuck in the retribution or anger or contention, etc., I mean, their focus is on the offender, or the ones, or, those that have hurt them, and unfortunately, that becomes their direction, is into some real dark spaces. And so I really hope that as people watch this and the excellent portrayal of the story that the cast did, that they'll come away with it, at least with a decision to say, I need to let go. I need to do these things, like you said. Hopefully they'll think of the person or the individual or the situation, that they'll say, I can't go back anymore to this and just let this upset me or anger me. I need to let it go and move forward in a positive way.
And just to piggyback off of that, Ian and Sam, I'd love to hear your opinion. What do you hope that people take away from this film after 10 years, it reaching a whole new audience of 1 million guild members strong? What does that mean to you? And we can start with whomever would like to go first. Sam, let's.
I was going to let Ian go first. So,
Ian, please.
I was going to let Sam go first, but okay. Exactly what Chris said about forgiveness is such an important virtue. I have been forgiven. I wronged somebody, and they forgave me. So I was kind of not. I didn't do anything. I didn't do what that young man did, but so I kind of know how that feels. Coming from a different point of view, but you pass that on. When you experience that, you pass that on, as well as, because what Chris said is a huge thing to do. It's massive, and you think, well, could I have done that? If someone wiped my family out, would I be strong enough to? Would I? But then when someone's forgiven you, you go, oh gosh, then now it's that thing of you pass it on. So the more we pass this on in the world, hopefully we are creating a better place for all of us to live. So I think that's the ultimately the message of this movie.
Yeah, it very much creates a culture, and I love what Sam was saying earlier. Like, we currently live in a culture that's very unforgiving, and yep. I love what you said. Like, with stories like these, we can create a culture of forgiveness, and I think that's so much better than a current culture that we have. But so sorry, Sam. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I just thought of a quick story. My dog was attacked by another dog, and her leg was broken. My dog's leg was broken, and I took her to the vet, and I took care of that. But the people whose dog attacked her let the dog back in their yard and didn't do anything, even though she was screaming in the street and stuff. And I told my family, and my boys were like, well, we're going to go over there. And I said to them, no, we're going to wait a week. I'm not going to make any decision about this for a week. And I think that was my attempt to see if there was forgiveness to be given or something, right? And it turned out that within the week, we had it figured out. They weren't home. There was a house sitter who didn't know what to do, so she just let the dog back inside. It was basically a complete misunderstanding and a terrible, in a sense, accident. And there was forgiveness. There was, it was a horrible thing, and we needed to just move past it. And so I do want that to be a little bit of an impetus for people in their lives to say, maybe it doesn't rise to the level of what Chris had to endure. And I would hope that it didn't, right? And so even at that level, this individual could practice forgiveness and say, you know what? This is where it stops. It's not going to continue here. And that was such a beautiful thing. And we ought to share those moments of beauty when we can. And that's what this film does. And Mark Twain said that the fragrance is the forgiveness that the violet sheds on the heel on the soul that trods it. And we ought to be spreading that fragrance more, despite the harms that come to us.
No, that's great. And I'd love to, we're actually going to end our live stream with a little surprise segment that we have. But before we get to that, I'd love to go around the horn, if you will, and kind of talk about what we're doing now. The film's been out for 10 years and everything else like that. I've heard of something called the Forgiveness Project. Am I saying that correct, Chris? Do you mind telling me a bit about that?
Oh, sure. There is. There's several, but there's the Forgiveness Project is probably one of the more prominent ones. But it's basically a group of individuals that are capturing stories of forgiveness on both sides, of people that are that have committed wrongs that are being forgiven by someone, and then others that have been wronged and are forgiving others. But it's in the hopes that good can come of tragedy, and it's the hopes that we can kind of find a way to reconcile our differences, or reconcile our differences of opinion, so that we can be less contentious and less combative in everything from our public discourse to our private lives. And so yeah, it's a very informal and not a large organization, but yeah, it's definitely a project that I support and have worked with, and
that's very cool. Do you know if someone would like to get involved, how they would get involved in something like that?
Theforgivenessproject.org.
Okay.
Simple.
And is there anything else you'd like to mention when it comes to your current journey, where you are at now?
Oh, sure. So so after the crash, I did remarry. I was left with a widower with two surviving boys, and then I met a widow that had two children, and we've had two together. So we've got a little Brady Bunch family that we've had since, which has been absolutely wonderful. Absolutely. And it's been fun to watch them kind of grow and progress through their lives and heal as well. But now I just, after talking to so many people about the gift of letting go and what that can bring, I just would hope that anyone watching this movie through the Guild would, if they feel inspired or prompted, or if a thought comes to their mind of someone that they could let go of hate or of contention, or that they would do so, that they would just commit that day, that moment, to just let it go and find a peaceful path forward. If we just get a few of those people doing it, boy, what a success.
No, I absolutely love that. And of course, before the ending surprise, is there anything, Ian or Sam, you'd like to share? Ian, we'll go ahead and start with you. Tell us what you're working on.
Let Sam go this time.
Sam.
All right. Well, let's see. I have a new book out. It's called Parents' Guide to Homeschool. I advocate to get children out of school and keep them in their families because that's where we learn virtue and honor. And we don't learn that in school. We don't learn forgiveness in school either. We learn bullying and money as the highest value. And so that's my mission, is to empower parents, because they are enough and they have been chosen to educate their children by God above. And so that's my mission. And I would like to say that if I could make this suggestion, and I don't know how Angel would do it, but to start a chat about people who watch the film and how they end up practicing forgiveness after they see the movie, I would love to see that and have that conversation. We need more conversation in the nation. I think, because we're all stuck on our phones with, tech neck and texting and all that. And maybe just more conversation would lead to better outcomes than what we're achieving today. So that's my little 2 cents. And you can visit me at sorbostudios.com if you want any information on home education or the movies that we do over here. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And Ian?
I'm going to plug something that's actually on the Angel Studios. It's the Wing Feather Saga. I play Pete the Sockman. It's written by Andrew Peterson. It's a beautiful, I think there's 7 books. I think we've just finished season 2. It's great for your kids. It is a phenomenal series. I'm very proud of it, very excited. Season 2 is just out. I think we started season 3. I just recorded season 4. So go check it out on Angel Studios, The Winged Feather Saga.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, thank you both so much. So everybody, first go see Just Let Go in the Angel Guild today, angel.com/justletgo. Check it out. It is an extremely, extremely powerful story, an extremely powerful film. And thank you, Ian, and thank you, Sam, for contributing your skill set to this story. And Chris, thank you so much for being willing to share this story. like we've been talking throughout this live stream, it also takes some added strength to be willing to put yourself in this story out there in hopes that it will help people. And like I said, and I think Sam and Ian both agreed at this point, is like everyone has that person that after watching this film, it's like, oh, I know exactly who I should be forgiving right now, because it tugs at the heartstrings. So thank you so much for being willing to share the story.
You're welcome. It's been an honor. Absolutely.
It's very, very well done. And to end our live stream, we actually have a special segment that I'm not sure if you're aware of.
I am not at all.
Okay, so this is great. But I think we'll say goodbye to our virtual guests. Thank you so much for tuning in and calling in. But I appreciate it. But we're actually going to go down to, we're in the Angel HQ. So we're going to go down to Dry Bar Stage right now, where we have something very special for you.
That's fantastic.
So let's go.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Bye, Sam.
Hey, thank you, Ian.
Chris.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Bye.
I think we're going. Okay, so hey,
Off we go.
off we go.
Hey, there's the man.
Look at this guy. Was this so awesome?
I wonder where you were. Good to see you, Dan.
Hello, brother.
I know. It's so good to see you. Oh, it's good to see you.
Where you want me, right here?
Anywhere close.
Yeah.
Hopefully the mic is working. We don't know for sure,
Great.
Hey, thanks.
but you look good. Yeah, fit, all that.
But
Awesome.
trying, but you guys do as well. No one's aged. That's really weird. Ian and Sam, it's like 10 years has gone by. Nobody's.
We should do this movie again. No, but we're just so thankful to you for just being you, and what an incredible journey you have. And so on behalf of Angel Studios, we want to present you with the Incredible Human Award.
Which you are. You are an incredible human, Chris. We love you, man.
We're just so thankful for everything that you've done for us and letting us be part of this story. And we're grateful to the Guild for taking this and giving it new life. But we wanted to present you with that on behalf of Angel Studios and us, just to show our gratitude for you just as a human and as such a good example. And we hope that it affects even more people. It's affected a lot, but we're just proud that it's going to be released on a bigger platform and that many people will be able to watch it, see your story, and hopefully take that into their lives and also then forgive and do what you did. So
No, thank you so very much. This is an honor, absolutely. So I look at this and I think, though, of what I told Cameron, and he's the young man that was driving the other car in our family. When I first met him, though, he wanted to know how I was able to let it go. And one of the things I mentioned is that as a Christian, as a believer in Jesus Christ, that it was the Savior working through me. And so as I look at this award, I just can't help but also think that this is really a testament to Jesus Christ and what he allows us to do, and that's to let it go and to forgive and to look at him as the ultimate exemplar of how we can live our lives and having beautiful things come out of horrific tragedy, and that's kind of what the atonement's all about, is that he went and suffered horrific things so that good things could come to everyone. And so I'm honored that my name's on here, but to me, I'll always see the Savior's name on there as well. So
We knew you would say that. But remember the weirdness of when we're making this movie, right? And we chose to change the name of the young man because he had moved on, and he moves into my neighborhood, literally up the street from my house. And someone said, this kid lives in your neighborhood. We were like, what? And you immediately came over to my house, and we went to his house together so you could check on him and see how he was doing. And they were trying to have a baby, and they have since had a daughter and maybe even more now, right? And it was just so interesting that what are the chances that he moves to a neighborhood where I live and producing this movie, and that we get to go and visit him and see him and see that he's doing well and moving on. And it's just incredible. So what a journey. And man, we're just so thankful to be part of it.
Yeah, just thank you, Chris. From I think the beginning, since we heard your story, we're like, this is so unique and such a powerful story. Like, we know this is going to affect people, and not just the film, but you wrote the book, you go speaking, you share the story, and the story is just, it's impacted so many people. So we were so lucky and grateful to have the chance to make the film. First a short documentary and then a film. And so thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's 2009 when we first contacted you, and you were my grandma's neighborhood. You were my grandma's bishop. That's right. She tells me about this story, and I just couldn't believe it, and I had to meet you. And so when we met, turned it into that short documentary that had a huge impact. And just thank you, brother. I love you like a brother, and I'm just grateful for the journey we've been on. I'm just grateful to Angel Studios that this is going to have a new life. I think it's really going to find its audience and its home here, and people are going to really pull something out of it. So, yeah.
absolutely.
Thanks for being incredible. You've changed all of our lives, and you're going to change a lot more. So we're just glad to be friends with you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man.
That's fantastic to see you again. Like a brother, I've missed you. So
Yeah, we need to do lunch again, man. It's been a while.
that's right. So well, thank you very much. This has been an absolute honor. And I likewise am just thrilled that the Angel Guild has picked this up and is exposing this to not only the membership, but driving future memberships and expanding that out. So it'll be wonderful.
And he was really excited when we got Ian, because you didn't say this in there, but weren't you watching Lost? It was kind of cathartic for you watching Lost.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, no, I mentioned it a little bit, but yeah, just his character and kind of the storyline around that Desmond of his character. Yeah, it was.
And when we got him, it was just like we were just super excited. So yeah, that was a great connection there.
One little thing I remember just the other day when we were doing the short documentary, this is well before we talked about a feature, but we were using the soundtrack from Lost, like temp tracks for that.
For the edit, I remember that.
That's so bizarre. Anyway, all these little things that line up that are so cool.
And to the cast, Ian Cusick, Sam Sorbo, Brenda Vaccaro, all the others, Jacob Buster, Liam Bowie, they were incredible. And Adrienne Stern, who was our casting director, shout out to her for helping us, because there were so many people that we just got so lucky and blessed. We didn't want to use actors that we could find in local areas. We wanted to expand it. So thanks to all those people that helped us do that, because it really does make a difference to have people that are so professional and good at what they do helping tell that story. So we're blessed to have all of those people and the crew that was with us. I mean, we had such a small crew, but Al Williams and all the people that we had, Patrick, was shooting, Steve Madsen, and just everybody that we had. It was just amazing to have such a small little family that cared so much about a project, and I think it comes through in the
And
film.
even though we had a small budget, it was so compressed. It was like 21 shooting days, if I remember right. And it was just like nonstop. I mean, even it was worth it for Patrick, even though he was shooting, to still wake up in the middle of the night, weeks after, setting up the camera in his sleep, because he was still kind of having like post-traumatic stress syndrome from the production. And his wife's like, "What are you doing setting up the camera in the middle of the night?" I just think that's the price we paid, But it was a good price to pay.
It was worth it. Yeah.
So if you're a guild member, go watch this and share your thoughts somehow. Like Sam said, we'd love to know more about what people think about this, and hopefully it changes their life like you've changed ours. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
never be ready for a moment when life takes a turn for the worst. Suddenly everything you've ever known is gone in a flash, lost in the past. But I've received the sweetest grace in the face of great mistakes. Who am I to deny the same? Where do I draw the line between your sins and mine? And where does the hammer fall in justice for us all? Can anybody in the room stand above the truth? Who here is blameless for the sins of our youth? I'll stand and give you my hand. Every sinner has a future, every saint has a past. On the other side this time, let's mind what you've done. I've come undone. One look at you, I see myself come through. The pain in your eyes, the shame makes you cry. But I received the sweetest grace in the face of great mistakes. Who am I to deny the same? Where do I draw the line between your sins and mine? And where does the hammer fall in justice for us all? Can anybody in the room stand above the truth? Who here is blameless for the sins of our youth? I'll stand and give you my hand. Every sinner has a future, every saint has a past. Still doesn't make it easy, but it can't always be this hard. I hope you feel forgiveness, though it still hurts my heart. The pain that I hold on to, I find a way to just let go. I find a way to just let go. Where do I draw the line between your sins and mine? And where does the hammer fall in justice for us all? Can anybody in the room stand above the truth? Who here is blameless for the sins of our youth? I'll stand and give you my hand. Every sinner has a future, every saint has a past. Every sinner has a future, every saint has a past.